Hello everyone, welcome to this animated decal tutorial. What this series will be is going through each or as many animated decals as I can, showing you what you need to change in terms of decals, parameters, everything like that, in order for you to customize the in-game decals. A few things before we get started. The first is that these videos are in a, or will be in a playlist. The very first video is the introductory video that I done for this a while ago. This contains all the information you will need in terms of finding things out for yourself for decals that I don't cover or haven't covered yet. So go watch that. The link for that will be in the description below for a general use or understanding of how to do this sort of thing. These videos will be specific to the decal itself that we're working on. The other thing to note is that if you are in the Rocket League Wiki Skins Discord, there is a channel that I have which has text files for you to download and use. If I can, there we go. So in here, what I've done is I have all the parameters that you need. So for retrogression, you have the skin ID, the parameters, and then the text file of basically what each parameter does, how to color it, how it works, etc., etc. At the very top or in the pinned messages. Okay, pinned messages have gone. Ignore that. At the very top of this channel here is the basic video. Again, this will be down in the description. And the very last message in here is the database I'm creating for the assets that you will need to change. So this link will also be in the description. The last thing to note is the method I use for downloading or ripping assets from the game. I use a program called Ninjaripper. Unfortunately, YouTube blocks this link to the website that I use, so I can't put it there. However, if you just do a Google search, it will take you right to it. I will show you my settings before we actually start to rip any decals. The other program that I use is DDS Converter. Again, if you Google that, I'll take you to the website where you can download it. This converts the ripped textures from the DDS format into a PNG format. That's not completely necessary, as GIMP, the imaging software that I use, that can read DDS images. However, currently it is just habit for me to convert them before I use them. So, getting into today's video, the 3 decals we'll be going through is currently the one you see on screen, which is the Octane Kana. Then we'll go on to the new Octane RLCS animated decal. And then as a sort of bonus decal, I will show you something with the Biomass. So to get started with the Octane Kana, what would we need? The way that we rip textures is, especially this method of using Ninjaripper, everything you want to rip must be equipped and displayed on screen. By that I mean, if I want the Octane Kana decal, it won't work. Actually, hang on, I don't even have it set in there, do I? I have it set in here. It won't work if I have Jetstream, for example. You need to have your items or your textures that you want to rip shown. So equip them however you like. And then all you do is then use Ninjaripper to rip everything that your computer sees or the program sees. So how do we use Ninjaripper? The good thing about Ninjaripper is you don't need to open it every single time. Once you have your settings set, then you can just leave it. All you have to do is just hit the hotkeys every time you want it, and it will rip it. As a word of caution, currently we have a theory that Ninjaripper does not work with Epic, the Epic launcher. Currently, we know 100% it works on Steam. However, we haven't proven it yet, but we are pretty sure that Ninjaripper does not work on Epic. First thing you want to do is set your exe directory and your other directory. Yeah, that makes sense. To your Rocket League exe. So a good way to find out your directory for your program or for Rocket League itself is to go into Steam, right click on properties on Rocket League, go to properties, click browse, local files, browse, and then here you have the folder. So from there, binaries, Win64. This is the folder that you want to set, because if we scroll down, Rocket League, the application is in here. So you can just copy that folder path, set it in the directory, and you're good to go. For settings, I use F9 for textures, F11 for all. We won't cover that today. I think we've covered that in a previous video for Blender. But basically this takes the objects itself. So so you would rip the object of the car, the wheels, the hubs, pretty much everything. All we're interested in is the textures. I have this set to F9. My keyboard shortcuts are Control and Shift. This stops any other programs activating. This is the only program that I have that has multiple controls. So once you've got those set up, the next thing you want to do is the inject. You want D3D11. This is the new mode that Rocket League works on. It used to be D3D9, however, we're now on D11. So once you've got that set up, you can hit run, or you can just close Ninjaripper down. Either way, it still works. So now that we've got that set up, we're in game, we've got our decal equipped. All I do now is I just click and shake the screen to make sure everything is refreshed and working. I now hit my keyboard shortcut, so Control Shift F9. You see the screen freeze a little bit. That's now ripped everything. So if I now go to here, Ninjaripper, scroll all the way down. It makes, every time you open Rocket League or your set game, in this case Rocket League, Ninjaripper will make a new folder. So you want the very last one that's created. And then into textures, and this is everything that it's ripped. Now I have DDS set to open with GIMP. So this is the icon you get. And this is where your DDS converter comes in. Simply add. Go to the newest folder. Control A for all. Once all the images have been populated, go to browse. I've made a separate folder called DDS output. This is where I put all my converted images, so I click OK. Automatically overwrite. I don't care about anything that's in there. Anything that I need, I just copy or move to a different location. So automatically overwrite and PNG. Convert. OK. And now we have image conversion complete. We don't need DDS converter, so we can close that. And if we open DDS output, here are all the files that it's ripped. So how do we know what we need? As mentioned in the introductory video, you will need dev mode enabled in Alpha Console. The easiest way to do that, or the only way I should say to do that, is to use the commands in the F6 plugin. There we go. So you press F6 to open up the console, and you want AC plugin underscore texture developer underscore enable space 1. This turns it on. So I already have it on. And you can tell it's on because you have all this green text and extra boxes here. To turn it off, it's the same command. Oh, hello. It's the same command, but instead of 1, it's a 0. So as soon as you hit enter, as you can see, all the green goes. This is now developer mode off. So once you have developer mode enabled, make sure you have no custom decals equipped on the side or team that you're on. So for example, you can see here my orange side has a custom decal equipped, but the blue side, the one that I'm on screen, doesn't. This needs to be you need to make sure that this is happening, purely because what you're going to do now is go through the parameters, and the great thing about this is as you click on each parameter, it brings up its file. So body mask is nothing, decal 1 is bright as hell. And here we go, decal blend noise. So this image is what we will need, or this is one of them. Detail 1 we don't really need, detail 2 we don't really need, effects noise 1, here we go. The same with effects noise 2. Diffuse we don't need. With this update of Alpha Console, there are a lot of duplicated parameters. So unfortunately, there's not much that can be done at the moment about this. So we'll just keep going through. So we've got the ones we need. We've got decal blend noise, effects noise 1, effects noise 2, and was it decal? Decal 1. So these are the images we need. Now, as we've just ripped them from the game, they will be in our output. So now we can see what we're looking for. Well, here's 2 of them right here. So in my case, text 00, 55 and 56 are the ones we need. As decal, was it decal or detail? Decal 1. As this is just a white image, we can make that ourselves, so that's not too important. So what I'm going to do is select both of those. Kana. Apparently I've already got one called Kana. Oh, I do. Okay. Well, there's a spoiler. So I'm going to drag these into my image editor. My scale is off, so I want to increase the scale of these. So 1024, we want to put this double the size, so 2048 by 2048. We will now we'll now center this back 0, 0. So here's something to note for this decal specifically. This, how can I show it here? This is the decal that we're going to be replicating or customizing. You can see all the funny letters. They're the ones that are displayed on screen. However, no, okay. This one. However, this one isn't. You don't see any of these numbers on the screen, even though it is exactly the same as your decal. My theory is that this is the control for these characters. This is what controls these. I haven't confirmed that. I'm not too sure. However, the setup that I have before, if I was to show you, animated self promo, this is what a previous custom of it looks like, and it's pretty much the same. All I did was customize this one. I've set the control, or what I believe to be the control. I have just moved this to my folder and set this in its parameter. I haven't customized this at all. So this is what I will be showing you today. So how did we go about customizing this? Well, there's 3 or 4 different things that we'll need to do. The first is a black background. As there is a black background here, we need to make one for ourselves. So I've made a new layer, Shift B, fill. Now we don't need that yet, so we can hide this layer. The second thing is we have these blue objects, these sort of faded rectangles. So we will need to make these. So let's do a new layer. I will get a blue, and I will get my rectangle select. Make sure my new layer is selected, and I'll simply cut roughly, doesn't need to be exact, even though that is exactly what I'm doing, each individual box. So what I'm going to do here is now do a gradient. What I want is gradient to transparent, foreground to transparent like this. Which way are we going? We're going this way. You get a rough idea, something isn't the best. Let's do something like that. So there's one. If I was to show that layer, why is this off? Something's off. Oh well. So there's one. And now we go through to the other one. Oh shit. And the last one. It's best to try and replicate the original decal as best you can. That way you know it will work. However, when I mentioned it doesn't have to be exact, what I meant was cropping out these sort of box-like features. As long as it's there roughly, it's okay. So now we have our blue layers done. The third thing we need is this green line, or these lines. So we'll do that. We'll make a new layer. We need a green, and we'll go to free select and simply cut this out. Now there are some decals where I've gone into very in-depth, like finding out what does what. In this case, I haven't. It's going to sound lazy, but I haven't bothered to go through and find out what the blue does, what the green does. The red is obviously the decal, what's the letters that are shown. So now I've selected or masked this out. I've selected our new layer, Shift B, and fill for the green, and we'll just go on and do this bottom one. So now we have the black the blue and the green layers done. Now we need to do the red, which is the text that we are going to be displaying. So with this, what we're going to do is just do some basic text work. So let's make a new folder and text. So what I've done is I've gone over each individual location of these images and I've put my own text. As you can see here, I've put test. So what I'm going to do is, as I have this in its own group, I can now duplicate that group and move it to a different location. So I'm going to put it here. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm not going to do too many, so let's just duplicate it one more time. And so I'm just going to put the endpoint logo. Let's put it here. Now, with this logo, it's white. We don't want it to be white, so let's right click, colors, colorize, and make it red. Say about there. Cool. And what we'll do is we shall duplicate that. And one more time, like that. Cool. So we have everything done. However, let's make this a bit more neat. And this will be easier now. However, as you can see, there's a little bit that we need to do. The blue sort of covers the red, but not fully like we have here. Well, actually, our layers are the wrong way around. So let's put the blue on top of the red. Let's also now drop the opacity of this blue layer down. The reason we're doing this is because we don't want it to interfere with the red, which does happen, even if it is in this faded area and pink how it looks in the original decal. This does interfere with the decal itself. So we'll drop the opacity down a bit. And what we'll do is move the green up as well. We'll move the green to underneath the blue. And we'll do the same. We'll drop this opacity down to about here. So now that we have that done, let's save this out. Export, decal textures, animated. I already have a folder for this setup. Self promo, and let's call this test. So test.png, we shall export. This GIMP file is pretty big, so it always stops responding for a bit. So that's done. Here is our rendered or final image. So now we need to add this to the JSON. So we have everything we need. we have our binary lines, which I've called binary lines, which is the 0 and 1. As I mentioned earlier, I haven't altered this in any way, so I've just stuck this in the folder. I've pre-made a plain white image, and I've put that in here, and our newly done decal. So the parameters, if we go back into the game, press F5, what do we need? Well, let's click through again. Decal 1 is white, so if I open up my JSON file, here is the current version of the custom decal that I have. So decal 1 is set to a file called decal 1. If we have a look, that's the white image, that's correct. We need effects noise 2. Oh, hang on. There we go. So effects noise 1 is the custom decal, as well as effects noise 2. The reason I only have effects noise 2 in the JSON file is because having both doesn't make it look correct. It looks quite weird having both. So what I found is if you just use effects noise 2, you're okay. Now, that being said, the effects noise 2 is set to a file called promo. If we have a look, that's not what we called it. We called it test. So I need to change this to test. And decal blend noise, where's that? It's up here. That's the control. The control is called binary lines, and it's set to binary lines. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to go into the F6 console, AC plugin _ reload decals, because I've just made a change to the JSON file. So I'm going to reload that. F5. And now I'm going to equip the decal. Animated self promo. And there we have it. You can see the test. You can see the logos. Now, one thing to mention is that this is most of the custom decals. Oh my god. Most of the animated decals will be repeating. And by repeating, I don't mean this scroll through. What I mean is it will continuously loop around the car. So if you was to make a decal with a logo that looks placed on the hood, what you will see is that it will also repeat further down the car, lengthways and also widthways. So with just one logo, it will be all over the car. And that's what happens here. As you can see, we've got 3 lines of test, and 2 lines of logos. But if we look, here's the 2 logos. But yeah, over here, we've also got 2 more lines because it repeats itself. Now for this, it doesn't matter, but that's something to keep in mind for decals that you wouldn't want that. That's something you need to keep in mind. So that's the Octane Kana. The next decal, the brand new RLCS animated decal for the Octane. As you can see here, if I do a quick comparison, so RLCS 2021/22, this is the animated one. The old one, which I believe is RLCSX. Yep. So RLCSX. This is the old one. There's no RLCS on the hood. Excuse me. There's no animation on it. However, 21/22, this has the animation. So again, same procedure on how to rip it and what to look for. So F5, we've got no custom decal equipped. We'll scroll through the parameters. Curvature pack we don't need, diffused we don't need, detail, nope. RLCS map. This is what we need. Body mask, no. RLCS map, diffused, no. Normal. So it's just the RLCS map is the parameter to use, and this is the decal we want to go off of. So I'm going to do the same. Click and shake, make sure everything's set. Control Shift F9 for Ninjaripper. Screen freezes. There we go. We'll now go into DDS converter, add. Just refresh our folder as we haven't closed Rocket League. We're still in that same folder, so open, browse to output, overwrite PNG, convert. Okay, conversion is done. We don't need Ninjaripper anymore. So now go into our output folder, and we're looking for this RLCS decal. Scrolling down, here we go. We open it up, this is a good size, so we shall use this. We shall drag this into our editor. Make a new layout and a group, there we go. So it's exported as a transparent image with just the, if I was to enable my Octane overlay, this is how it would look. Now, a word of caution, anything ripped from the game that is transparent like this, it means Psyonix have done something sneaky, and there's something you need to look at. So let's do colors, curves, value to alpha, and let's just invert this. Well, that's nice. This is exactly what I mean, and I've went through this in my previous video. This is something you need to look for. So we need a base of green to black as a gradient. So let's set this up now. So we make a new layer. We've got our green already set, so let's now do a black gradient, and we'll set this as a fade. Is that the right way? No, it's not. So green, black, we'll set it about here. About there should be fine. So this is our background. So what we want to do is drop this opacity, let's say to 0.5. Now I want a new layer above our background that we just made, and this is what we're going to be painting on. So there's two colors in here that we need to use, yellow and red. You can use the blue. The blue is for how can I explain this? The blue is a different sort of paint finish. However, the main reason for it is to still use the color variant of the decal. By that, what I mean is if I go into Backers mod and equip a forest green one, you can see this fade from forest green, and the front as well is forest green. The same if I was to do what would be a good burnt sienna. There you go. So that's what the blue copies the yellow slightly. The yellow, as per my video on creating paintable decals, Yellow is the paint variant of the decal. So you can see the yellow here at the back. The yellow is taking on this burnt sienna. And the red is just the red for painting. So let's make our own one quickly. So we've got a new layer. We want red and yellow. Do I have a yellow set? Not really. You know what? Let's color pick yellow. We use the yellow that they're using. So let's make one. Let's do a red. Oh my god, wrong one. Let's do a red at the front. We'll do a yellow at the back. And we'll do a gradient. Make a gradient on the side. Let's flip that actually. There we go. So it goes from yellow to red on the side. Now exporting, we don't need the diffuse shown. We've hidden our original decal that we've ripped, so that's not going to interfere. We have our background, our green to black. That is set to transparent of 0.5. And we have our layer for our decal. So we're going to export this. Do I have animated decals? RLCS, and let's call this test. Again, when exporting with transparency, we want to have this option enabled. So we'll tick that. Export. While that's exporting, we'll come to our JSON file. And here is my RLCS set. So shall copy that. Oh, we shall copy that. Make a new instance. This will be test. And test. So again, the only parameter we're using is RLCS map. I have a skin there, but that's not being used. And we have the skin ID set and the body ID set. So we shall save that. Come into Rocket League, F6, AC plugin _ reload decals, because we've made changes to the JSON file, and F5. Now I have this in its own RLCS folder or group, and RLCS test. So as you can see, we've got the animation of it. We've got the red that we painted at the front. That is white. So if we go into a garage, into paint, you can see here, we've got the white. Let's set that to, I don't know, green. And we have the blue, which is now for the car. So let's set that to a pink. And we have this yellow that we set at the back, and this gradient yellow to red. This is still set to burnt sienna, so if I was to change this to cobalt, you will see it change. And again to something like crimson. So this you can make your own decal out of. However, now that you know what to do to get this to work, I'm going to show you something else. Let's set this back, and what I will do is set this to, I don't know, let's set this to titanium white. So this is how the decal is. You paint your decal, and whatever you paint has this animation. But if I was to go into RLCS and equip something like, what have I got at the moment? I've got blue, so let's equip endpoint. Well, here, the whole car has the animation, and the esports decal for endpoint is set as blue. And as you can see, the spoiler, rear fenders, and a gradient from back to front has titanium white, or it has a white effect. If I change it to something like sky blue or forest green, this is the inverted way of the same decal. And what I mean by inverted is you work invertedly. So what we've done is we've purely painted what we needed. So let's change this up a bit and let's go and do something else. So we're going to delete our original layer that we've just painted. We're going to make a new layer and we're going to do a full gradient. Something like this. Now I've made a full gradient for the car. There are certain things in this that you need to be aware of. As mentioned, this gradient goes from red, which is the paint. As mentioned, the red is the paint that you use, and the yellow is the paintable. Fucking hell, this is difficult to remember. The yellow is the paintable version of the decal. So titanium white, sky blue, etc., etc. What I will do is just adjust this a little bit. I want more yellow on this, like that. So, with that being said, this is what to look out for. So the body, the front of the Octane is red, the rear is yellow, and there's this nice gradient in between. However, the fenders, because of this gradient layer, all fenders are yellow. We don't want all fenders to be yellow because we have the front ones which need to be red. If we look down here, we have the spoiler which is orange to red. We don't want the spoiler to be orange to red. We want the orange to be fully yellow. So we need to paint these in a way let's do that again. Get a clean cut there. So we'll do that. What did I say? We said spoilers or fenders even. So this fender is for the rear, which we want yellow. This is the underside of the rear, which is fine. So what we want is these two to be red, as well as these little bits here. And this little bit here. Like that. So if I now hide the diffuse, this is where we're at. So going on from this, what do we do now? Well, originally we painted our decal. Now we're going to cut it out. So let's use another logo. We won't use endpoint this time. Let's do... What should we do this time? Let's do G Fuel. Let's size this up to where we want it. About here. What I'm going to do is select the black area of the G Fuel. Select our, we can now hide that because we don't need it. I'm going to select our painted layer and I'm going to delete. So now we've just made a big hole, or a hole, in our painted layer. And what I will also do is do this, for example. I don't know why I'm doing it, but let's just say we're going to do that. So if I hide the diffuse, this is what we've got. Now, again, going on our a previous video of making paintable decals, we need to mask this. The best way to mask this is get the diffuse. We shall make a new layer, put this to the top, get a black, select our diffuse layer, and we'll select the black area of the diffuse. We can now hide that. We'll come down to our new layer that we just made, Shift B, and fill. Now this isn't too great, but for the purpose of this example, it will do. However, if I was to just close this and show you one I made earlier, this is the true neutral. As you can see, we have blacked out areas. If I show the diffuse, this is what's blacked out. All the paintable parts of the car, including the windows, are blacked out. That's pretty much what you need to black out. So if I hide that to show you, this is what it should look like. But for this example, this will suffice. So let's now export this or override this to what we've just made. And now if I equip this RLCS test, this is what we have. We now have our back all nice and green, but what we did was paint it yellow. The front is red. We got this dirty great hole that we cut out, and the G fuel that we cut out. So if I was to now equip, let's say crimson, and you know what, let's do this in backers mod. So primary, let's change this to a nice red, and secondary, let's make this green. And there we have it. This is the inverted, or what I like to call the inverted RLCS decal. Purely because the way you've worked this is simply by inverting your method of working, rather than painting parts that you want to be, you want to have the animation. The whole car now has the animation, and you've filled in bits that you want painted. So the last decal we shall be going over today is the Biomass, the black market. Now what we won't be doing is changing the pattern of it. The reason we won't be is because the way this works is the texture originates at the edge of each seam, or each part of the UV. So this is a separate UV, this little bit here. This is a separate one. Obviously, you've got the separated body here. So we're not going to be going over replacing the actual look of the Biomass. What we will be doing is customizing it to have logos or something on. Now to do this, there are two primary colors that you use, which is black and white. They affect the decal differently. So here is the endpoint, the old endpoint decal, the esports decal. And if you look close, you'll see the endpoint logo at the front sort of gets covered or mixed in with the effect of the biomass. But the name on the back stands out. It has like an edge around it. This is the black and white paint. This is how it affects the biomass itself. So again, to get all of this, we shall go through the parameters. Effects mask, this you will need. Detail 1, detail 2, effects noise, you'll need this. Effects noise 1, effects noise 2 is the same thing. You don't need any of this. And noise, don't need any of this. Cool. So it is just effects masks that we need and effects noise 1 and 2. So here I have imported this light map of the Octane, which we will need. As I mentioned earlier, you can see there's some transparency, so let's just double check. We're not, as I said, we're not going to be altering this this layer, but again, just to double check, if we invert the alpha, you can see there's actually stuff there. For this tutorial, we won't be editing this, but it's good to know anyway. So, what do we need? Well, as I said, we're going to be working in just black and white, so we're going to make a new layer to paint on. And to start with, let's just do some black on the hood and then white on the roof. And let's export this. I have a folder already for biomass, animated decals biomass. And what's biomass test? Yep, that can be replaced. So we should replace biomass test, replace. Again, there's transparency, so we need to make sure this value is checked. While that's saving, we shall update our JSON. Endpoint animated. Biomass, here we go. So again, we got the body ID, we have the skin ID, body ID of the Octane, skin ID of the biomass. Doing this, yes, the biomass is universal. However, because we're painting for the Octane, you need to make sure that you have the Octane equipped. You don't have to have the Octane ID equipped, but changing it to a different car will obviously not give you the, the desired result. So if you want to make custom biomass decals for a few cars or every car, you'll need to make each decal for every car. So what do we have? We have, what have we made? Biomass test. And what we want is the effects noise 1 and 2 to remain the same, which is this, the actual decal of the biomass. And effects mask is what we're using, so we shall do that. Save. F6, reload decals. Animated to, I just call it biomass? I did, to biomass. So, on first appearance, it looks like the W, the white, is the only thing that's come out. But as you can just about see, there's this curve here. This is the black, which is now sort of cut away at the biomass decal. So let's change this a little bit more. we now know that the black cuts away at the biomass, so we'll make a black outline, and then we'll just do some white in the middle. She'll override that. Once that saves, we'll check it in game. And now do refresh decal. And there we go. So we have a outline of our circle, and then the circle inside. So to give a better example of this, let's move this to somewhere a bit more busy. Let's say at the edge. So we'll undo what we've just done, and we shall come to the edge off the top. So let's say we'll put it here. So we'll paint this bit black, and then we'll put some white in there. And as we hit refresh, here's a better example. So we've got the black, which has cut out the biomass, and then the white, which is basically just a black. So what we can do with this is put a black background. Let's undo that, and let's go for, you know what? Let's overuse it. Let's overuse team endpoint. Actually, you can't really overuse team endpoint. Let's just use it again. So here's our logo. This is where we want it. Let's save that. So we just have a pure white logo on the hood of the car. And we shall refresh. There's the logo, but it sort of interferes, or the biomass interferes with the logo. If that's what you want to go for, that's fine. But let's make it stand out a little bit. So let's come to our new, actually no, let's select this first. So we want the outline and the ED. We'll come to our blank layer. We want select, we want to grow our selection. Let's say by 3 pixels. And that should be good enough. So Shift B, fill with black. And let's try this. And now we shall refresh our decal. There's not much of a difference you can see straight away, but if you look at the top here, we have the outline, and you can see here as well, it doesn't go straight through. We have this sort of outline around the logo, so it's a bit more clean. It's not actually blended in with the biomass itself. But that's how you add logos or text or create a custom decal for the biomass. You have the black layer, or sorry, the black color, which will eat away or remove the biomass effect. And then you have the whites, which will just become a straight black look to it. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope this clears things up in terms of how to create custom animated decals using the decals in the game. As I said, this will be a playlist, an ongoing series. However, it will be quite slow to sort of pump videos out for the decals. As I also mentioned, the next video will cover the Season 1 and Season 3 free-to-play season reward decals. This is a custom NRG one. There will be a link down in the description to the original video to give you a basic idea on generic tips for getting assets like this for decals yourself. There will also be another link for my database where you can find all of the assets. But thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you all later. Peace.